Welcome to the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. I am Mackayla. Today we are joined by Katie. This is going to be an unusual episode because we're celebrating, this will be coming out because it happens to be a Friday this year, the 28th. It's the 2-year anniversary of the first ever podcast episode from Soundtrack of Our Lives dropping. So to celebrate that, Katie is going to be interviewing me. But before we start, I want to just have you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name's Katie. I live in the Eugene, Oregon area, and go to Oregon State University. Go Beavers. Even though I've been a Duck fan my whole life, I'm going to be a Beaver for the next couple years. I'm studying digital media communications. So that's kind of like a job for that major would be like a social media manager, dealing with that kind of stuff, all digital communications. And for my project, we're just learning how to write for a media professional. And I chose to write about entertainment and technology. And one of the options was podcasts. And I thought that would be a really cool option because other things I wanted to do was more like talking to influencers. And I was like, I have no idea how I would get interviews for that. And my teacher thought podcast was a really good idea because it's like a new form of communication that's really popular right now. So I decided to go with it.
Awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start with the background questions that I had. Where is your podcast located in? Like what state?
Yeah, I am located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So it's later where you are.
Yes, it is. It's 8 o'clock here.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something when I initially started, I had to really adjust my schedule. So initially when I started setting up the Calendly, you can set up like hours and date, like and times for certain days. And I was like, okay, I'll set it to like 6 and then I can just be done for the night. And then I had a bunch of people from California be like, hey, do you have anything later than 3 p.m.?
Yep.
So now I'll do an interview as late as 11 p.m. here just to make it work.
Wow.
That was a hurdle I had to get over and realize, oh shoot, time zones are a thing.
Yeah. So your podcast is about music and backstage and concerts and stuff. What is your favorite musician or favorite band? If you
That's a
can
really
even narrow it down.
yeah. I mean, I would say the one that's had the most impact on my life would definitely be 5 Seconds of Summer.
No.
You a Five
That's
Sauce fan?
fine. There's a poster in my mirror of Five Sauce.
Wait, let me turn off
I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Five Sauce.
You,
That's Five Sauce.
that's
You can't see from the
awesome.
background. I have their logo on my ribs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would probably say Five Sauce are in like my top 3 bands ever. That's
Oh,
funny.
I love that. Yeah, they've definitely had the most impact on me. I've seen them every time they've come to Boston, except for the Sounds Live, Feels Live tour.
Mm. I've seen them every time they've come to Washington or Portland. So I think everything besides their most recent tour.
Mm-hmm.
They did take my hand in. I have a poster from 2022. That's the last time I saw them. So they had the concert where they threw the like dice into the crowd.
Yeah, that was their last tour.
Yeah, I didn't go to that one. I was really sad.
I went to that one. I wasn't gonna go, and then all of a sudden, like 3 days before, I'm like, you know what? I can't not go.
Yeah, because who knows when they're gonna be back? Because they have like kids and they're married and stuff.
I know, which is crazy. But they're working on a new album supposedly.
Yeah,
So
hopefully
we'll
they
see.
come back soon.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's your favorite concert that you've been to, or would you consider Five Sauce to be your favorite concert?
Actually, not. So I went to Stonehill College, right in Easton, Massachusetts, which is south of Boston, and they do a yearly concert. Obviously, because of I went to college during the pandemic, we didn't have as many. But was it? I don't. I think it was my. No, it was not my senior year. It was my junior year. Ex Ambassadors came and they performed.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and I knew some of their songs. You've probably heard a couple of their songs have been pretty big, but I didn't really know anything about them or what to expect. But it was like a $5 ticket for students, and I was like,
Yeah,
you know what?
why not?
Why not? It's fun. Yeah, with the concert with my friends, I have to walk not that far, easy travel,
Yeah.
So I went, and I was absolutely blown away. It was like Freddie Mercury was on the stage.
Wow, that's a very good compliment.
That's how I felt. And I was just speechless. So that is my all-time favorite concert. Just because I went into it not knowing the band, not really having big expectations, it just blew me out of the water.
Yeah. Is their music kind of like the Chainsmokers? Is it kind of like club music? I haven't listened to
Not
them
really.
that
Let
much.
me look up their most popular song because I feel like it's really a big song. Renegades or
Okay.
Unsteady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
like it's a very big song. So
Yeah.
they played those.
Yeah.
And everyone knew those ones. People didn't really know the other songs, but that's okay.
That's
He
okay. They know some of them.
right, he performed the whole night like everybody knew what was happening, which is always nice.
Yeah, all the college students are hyped.
Right.
Okay, now for some general podcast questions. What inspired you to start this podcast?
Honestly, I was bored.
Valid.
It was my senior spring of college. So I was a studio art major, and then I was a graphic design minor and entrepreneurship minor. So those didn't have projects. We had our studio art project, but I tried to be very strict about how much time I was spending in the studio to not just be fully like have that take over my life. So I would be done with it, or I'd only be doing it certain days a week. I don't really remember what I was doing 2 years ago. Um, with my schedule, I just know that I wasn't always at the studio. I watched everything I wanted to watch on Netflix. I binged some podcasts. I'd done everything you can think of to do when you're bored. So I was like, okay, I like podcasts. I like music. And it was also the time of the year when you're, applying to jobs and whatnot, because you got to think about your future and all that scary stuff. So I
Yeah.
was like, all of the jobs I was looking at, you need experience. And there were a lot of them were internships. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get an internship or an entry level job if no one is willing to give me experience? I said,
Yep.
I'll just make my own experience. So I started a podcast.
That's
I
smart.
I had no expectations going into it. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never done anything like this. And now it's been 2 years and it's crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Have you been able to get like a job in your major in the podcasting field, or is this kind of just like a fun thing?
This is kind of a fun thing. I have two jobs, part-time, both. I work at a nursing home and then as well as a theater. And then in the summer, I work at an outdoor concert venue, but you can't
Oh,
have an
cool.
outdoor concert in Boston in the winter. So,
That is true. Oregon has like barely any outdoor venues either because it would just rain all the time.
right. Yeah.
Okay, next question. What makes a good or a bad podcast host and guest?
So I think for podcast host, I think it would really depend on what kind of podcast you're trying to make. I think an important thing is to be personable because no one's going to listen to someone they, don't like or don't enjoy. We all start podcasts and you're like, I don't really like them. And that's fair. You're allowed to feel that way about a person. So I just think
Yeah,
just being personable, being yourself. I feel like I try to be very genuine when I'm doing it because I don't really know another way to approach it.
yeah,
But I feel like it would really depend on podcasting. If we're talking, the type of style I do, which is like more interview, storytelling, I would say just somebody who is really good at listening and making sure that everyone has the time to answer the questions. And sometimes, just picking up on those things that they say that sound interesting and asking further questions about those. And also
yeah,
being prepared.
yeah.
I do a lot of research into my bands that come on, bands or photographers or PR people, like anyone that's come on. I do a deep dive into their background. I try to find out as much as I can so that I can ask good questions. Sometimes I never get to those questions that I found on my deep dive, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of a guest, I can really only answer for my podcast because I feel like it would differ for other podcasts. But for my
Yeah.
podcast, I've been very fortunate. I've only ever had really good guests. They all come on very eager to answer questions and talk to me. So I guess I don't really know what makes a bad guest. I've never really had one. And I hope
That's
to
kind of
never
good
have
though.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was one of your favorite podcast episodes?
Honestly, so this is going to be number 138. I'm going to be honest, I can't remember all of them.
I believe you.
I would love to say I can remember all of them very vividly, but I don't have a favorite. I have
Hmm.
moments from ones that stand out. Like there's a moment where I was interviewing Eric Hunker, who is a Jewish artist, and he was talking about performing for a Holocaust Remembrance Day in Auschwitz.
Wow.
And that has always stood with me. That's like that moment is one that when people ask me, I'm like, that moment always stood out to me just because of how profound and beautiful it is and just like how important that is for him to be able to experience that.
That's heavy.
Right. Yeah, that was an emotional episode for sure. I've also, there everybody goes through periods in their life where they're feeling uninspired or times when I'm like, feel like I should be done with the podcast, and then I do an episode and that person is super inspiring and I'm like, okay, this is why I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like there's moments of every episode that so I still live at home with my parents, so I'll go down after an episode if my mom's there, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, this person said this or did this," like every time. Or I'll text my friends and be like, "Oh my god, you got to know what this person said."
Yeah.
I don't think there's an episode where I don't share some bit of it with somebody because it is such a part of who I am, but also every episode is important to me because it's important to the person who's coming on and I want them to feel heard.
Yeah.
Also, I've had a couple of episodes, and I'm not going to say which ones, but I've had a couple of episodes where I've either like had a panic attack right before, or honestly been in the middle of a panic attack and done an episode, and it's calmed me down and like worked me out of my panic attack.
Yeah.
Which is kind of I don't know why I was like I should have just canceled. Because obviously I've been sick and had to cancel, or had like family emergencies come up and had to cancel.
Yeah.
I should have canceled in hindsight, but I didn't. And it actually, I think, was beneficial that I didn't cancel, but I don't think it was my best interview.
It's like a speech therapy or something, just talking through your thoughts and stuff.
Right, right.
Okay, next question. What is a typical setup or routine for making a new episode?
Okay. So it starts with I get a lot of press releases or I do a lot of research. My friends, a lot of the time, will text me bands. They're like, hey, I heard this. I love this. This band put out this new song, or oh my God, I came across this band. You should have them on. As well as just, looking at new artists who are posting and just kind of staying fresh and new music that's coming out. So it's either I'll get a press release and I'll reach out to that person and say, hey, I'd love to have them on my podcast, or I'll just send out a cold email and say, hey, would you be interested in coming on my podcast? So it starts from that. And then now I have a Calendly because initially we were sending a million emails back and forth to confirm time. So Calendly makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I got some of those.
Yeah. In addition, it also, I have it set up that when you go to schedule, it transitions to your time zone of whatever person is
Okay.
scheduling.
I was wondering about that. I was like, oh, it's in Pacific time.
Right. I set up, you can turn that function off. I decided to turn it on because I've had like international people across the US. So it makes it easier if you don't have to do the calculation in your own mind.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So then once they set up the Calendly, there's a series of questions that are asked in the Calendly just to kind of get some background information. I also have started to include a media release just to make sure that people are comfortable with, I'm doing reels now because I found that really drives engagement. So I get all of that information. Then either when because I do have two jobs and then addition, like I have a life as well.
Yeah.
Whenever I have time before the episode, it's typically they can schedule up to 3 days like away. So obviously at least a day before I do a deep dive, I try to come up with at least 40 questions to ask. Sometimes it's as basic as what was the favorite show you ever performed? So there are some questions that I just reuse a lot or
Yeah.
repurpose. So I'd say that makes it a lot easier having a lot like that base to go on. But I'll have those 40 questions up and I'll read through them. Then like 15 minutes before the episode, I, go to the bathroom, make sure I have like a glass of water. I sit here, I have a blanket because it's nice to like be cozy and warm. I make sure I have all of my little like fidget toys with me that I fidget with while I'm interviewing people. I also always have a candle. I collect candles, so I have so many different ones. So I have that going. I light my candle. I get ready. I read through all of the questions, and then I typically have that artist, if it is an artist, I have their music playing. as I'm doing that, I've already, listened to it, watched some videos if they have
Yeah.
videos, but I will, just have it playing while I'm waiting. And then I get into the Zoom 10 to 5 minutes ahead of time. Sometimes people are early, sometimes they're not. That that is just kind of life.
Yeah.
So I'll get in. I will make sure that I have a AI that records and helps drop a summary so that I don't have to, go through and make sure I remember everything we talked about when I'm writing the episode summaries or the posts for Instagram or captions for Instagram. So it helps with that. So I make sure that that's ready to go, make sure that it's recorded to my computer. Obviously, I pause that because you don't need that like full 10 minutes of silence before to get rid of. I don't turn my phone on silent. I learned that the hard way because then I won't get the notifications if somebody has to cancel or is running late.
Oh,
So it makes it a lot easier. As soon as somebody joins the waiting room, I put everything on silent.
yeah.
Not before, because I learned the hard way.
Just waiting.
Right. And then I just jump right into it. Usually there's, pleasantries beforehand, making sure that, I want to make sure the person is comfortable. I've had a lot of artists come on who it's their first interview or their first podcast and they're a little nervous. And I'm just kind of like, we're just going to have a conversation. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. I'm like, I have some questions, but we don't have to answer them. Like I've had interviews where I go in and I never ask any of the questions I prepared. And that's okay with me because I find that those interviews are more fun to do. And I find that they tend to do better because it's much more of a conversation than just asking questions. So I start with the intro, then we ask, then obviously we have the little outro. Yeah, and then I typically wait like 15 minutes, and if the person doesn't show, I, send an email like to reschedule. That's happened a couple of times, and obviously everyone you get annoyed. That's the human thing. And then most times, I always feel bad when I get an email afterwards being like, oh my God, I had this emergency come up and forgot to tell you. And then I'm like, oh, why was I annoyed at them?
Fine.
Right, then I feel bad for being annoyed. But I get it. Life happens. I'm very understanding of that.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then after the episode is out and fully out, not just recorded, I reach out for an address to send a merch package to, which I started doing because I think they should be appreciated for coming on. A lot of these artists are smaller artists who have a smaller following. And I feel that sometimes you go and you talk to a media outlet or whatever, and that's cool. But it's also nice to feel appreciated by them.
That's nice.
So let me see, do I have any with me? I have business cards. It has a cover on it that you have to peel off, but
That's
I have
cute.
little keychains, stickers.
Nice.
I make bracelets that say STO Lives Pod. I have a card with the logo on it. What else? I have business cards. I like to carry the business cards around with me because they have the QR code to the Instagram.
Smart.
So yeah, did that answer the question?
Yeah, that was really good. A lot of the stuff you're saying is the research that I'm learning about how to conduct interviews, and it's saying less scripted is usually better because it's more natural. I'm like, yeah, real life example. That is true.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a scripted interview. I think those do well, but I think I've gotten more positive feedback on ones that are less scripted.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's also puts everyone more at ease. If you come into it nervous, it's a lot easier to have a conversation than to just answer questions.
Yeah.
So I think it makes it a lot easier when you just, I spent an hour talking with someone about food.
Nice.
And that was interesting, just to hear about that fact that he doesn't like to eat out on the road. He cooks everything himself or buys it and cooks for everyone that he's with. Yeah. That was
cool.
really interesting.
So we learned that there's a lot of good things about podcasts that kind of ease your mind and gives you things to do. Are there any negative sides to podcasting that you found?
It's stressful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quite honest. So I have a couple of people on my team, some that help with audio editing, some research. Every now and then I have a guest host, but it is primarily me. I did initially start with a partner. We had a falling out for creative reasons. We just, wanted to take the podcast in separate directions. Another thing that's stressful is my social life can change at any given moment because, a friend wants to hang out and it's like a week away and we make a plan and then, we get closer and somebody schedules something during that time because I forgot to say I was not available in my Calendly.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell my friend, hey, the podcast came up. Sorry.
Yeah.
My friends know me well enough by now to know that happens.
No hard feelings.
Right. I've also, and I will admit to this, I struggle sometimes to make sure that episodes come out on time or on the right day because, mental health is an issue, but also just life in general. Sometimes things come up that we can't control. And then I'm like, shoot, I can't get the episode out today.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's really hard is because these artists are giving me their time and this, this piece of themselves they're sharing and kind of just having a conversation with me about music and what they created and they want it to be shared with the world. I always feel really bad when I cannot get the episodes out on time.
Yeah.
Because I feel that they deserve to be heard and they've given me their time. The least I can do is put it out there for the world to hear.
And it's probably like kind of promo for them too.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I have several PR firms or agencies, depending on, what term you prefer to use for your organization, that I'm kind of part of when they sign someone new. I'm part of their media rounds,
Cool.
which is kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. So it's hard sometimes to make sure that you stay consistent and that you're always on social media. The reels, that's another thing that I struggle with because I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge social media person. I don't love it. I understand it and I get why it exists and I understand how it promotes things and I have really tried to get better, but I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm passionate about. Which, I mean, if you're passionate about social media, that's okay. I have no issues with that. That's great for you. It's just not something that I'm super passionate about. So that's definitely something that I struggle with. Another thing is being rejected. I would say I send about 50 to 100 emails every day to new artists or ask or different people to come on the podcast. Yeah. And if I'm lucky, I get 1 or 2 even replies to those emails. And I would say half of the time it's a yes, half of the time it's a no. So it's a lot of rejection. Initially, I really understood that because we didn't have a podcast. We had there was nothing to back us up saying, yeah, this is actually something that will get you out there and get you heard. Now it's been 2 years. I have honestly gotten used to the rejection. I expect everyone to say no at this point. I'm always surprised that people still want to come on the podcast, that people want to come on and talk to me, and that people have come back. That's really cool. I've had a couple of people come on for a second time.
That's cool.
Which, yeah, that feels really special because I'm like, oh, they enjoy talking to me so much they want to come back?
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah. So the more researchy questions, I guess, that I'm answering in my paper is, why do you think someone would be more interested in podcasting than another communication media like radio, film, TV, social media? What makes podcasting more interesting than those things?
Ooh, that is a really interesting question. I think podcasting, and I guess also social media, is something you can do from home as well. But I think I literally started my podcast in my college dorm. I now have a speaker that I got, or not a speaker, I got a microphone for my birthday.
Nice.
Last year. So I've had that for a little while, but literally I had headphones and a computer. And at that time, my college was paying for Zoom. So I wasn't even paying for Zoom then. We were using my college Zoom, which is kind of scamming the system, but
that's okay.
I mean, I was paying for college, so it made sense.
Yeah.
So I guess there's less of a barrier to entry for something like that.
Yeah.
I posted in a Facebook group of other people. I'm like, hey, I want to start this. Anyone else want to, join? And a couple people did. But I think there's also things that are scary about that too, because you're putting yourself out there. You also got to learn a lot of skills. I had to learn email marketing and like pitching myself to people, as well as actually interviewing people, doing research, kind of how to do a deep dive and find all of these email addresses for managers, which are not always easy to find. Sometimes they're hidden.
Yeah.
You gotta really dive. So I had to learn how to do that, as well as I had to learn to edit audio.
Yeah.
I had never done that before, and now I do it on a weekly basis.
New skills.
Yeah, you gotta learn to kind of be everything and always on it, even when you're not. Which, like, I go on vacation with my family, and I like over Christmas vacation, I basically sat down the week before and just made sure everything was ready. So I think there's also the benefit of podcasting. I guess the same would probably be said for social media as well, but you can kind of do things in advance. Whereas I feel like a lot of the other ones are more in the moment, happening live. So I feel like there's the benefit of you can kind of do it from anywhere at any time and put it out at any time as well.
I still have a Tumblr from the olden days, and I remember I'd always cue my posts. I thought that was so helpful.
Right. I think that, yeah, that's definitely something that is appealing to for something like this, because I mean, radio would be very cool, but I think it's what's right? I don't know how to say it. It's just harder to kind of plan your life around it. Like you can't, if you're a radio host, you don't really have like I can take a month off podcasting because I'm able to get like 1 million done the month before. Yeah. And then I'm able to take not a month off podcasting, but like a month off recording. And then that frees up my schedule and I have so much more free time. Like I'm able to allow that to happen in my schedule with podcasting. Whereas say if you're a radio host, you're still showing up to the studio every day.
Yeah.
So
more of a regular job.
Right. Which I wish this was a regular job that could pay bills, but it does not.
Maybe one day.
That would be really cool. Yeah. I started this with the intention of like, oh, I'll do it for a couple of months and that'll probably be it. Here I am, 2 years later, still going.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same question, so I don't know if you'll have a different answer, but what makes podcasting different than other forms of media? Besides, like, you said that it was easier to break into the entry level and you don't have to, like, get discovered. You can just start it yourself and you can, like, do it anywhere at any time.
Yeah. I think that sometimes with something like this, it feels more real to people. It's more interactive than, say, social media because, you know, you look at a post or you watch a video and then you move on. But you listen to a podcast episode and it makes you think of something. And sometimes I ask people, you know, what advice would you give to someone? And I hope that somebody listens to that and is able to like take something away from that advice. Or I guess that would be similar to radio as well. Just it feels more genuine because a lot of times social media is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
To be quite frank, it's pretty much a highlight reel for people. You're not going to post about the bad days, or you are, and that's really awesome that you're doing that. But for the majority of the world, it's a highlight reel. So it's much more curated and specific, and you're only sharing things that fit with your brand or that, you know, you like the aesthetic of. But with a podcast, I've come away from episodes and I'm like, I did not like how I did that episode. That was a horrible episode. Like, not on the guest book, but but on my part, I come away, I'm like, that might be the worst episode I've ever done. I still put it out there because the artist gave me their time. It deserves to be out in the world. Or I'm like, I was really off my game. I still put it out there. It deserves to be heard.
Yeah. I'm going to steal one of your questions that you say you asked for like advice from people. What would be your advice for somebody that wants to start a podcast?
I would say just do it. It seems a lot scarier than it is. You don't really need any equipment aside from a computer. It's very easy to set up an account on Spotify. That's ridiculously easy. You don't need to put any money into it. You can do it for free, which is a big thing. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
It can be, you can talk about whatever you want. There's a million podcasts out there that you can just like have fun with your friends. You can do whatever you want. it's really not as hard as it seems. It's scary at first. It's really scary. And, people don't always listen. I have episodes that people don't always listen to. Or I think this is the episode that's really going to take, and it's not.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of fun to do it and put something creative out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
As I say, it is hard at times and it can be really demanding and you want to give up, but it is rewarding in the end.
Yeah. Okay. My last question is there anything you want to mention that I haven't asked you about?
I'm trying to think. I feel like we covered a lot of things.
Yeah.
Not that I can think of. I don't try to think of anything else that would be helpful for your paper.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
You answered all of my questions amazingly.
Oh, thank you. It is weird to be on this side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I know what my artists feel like, or my guests feel like. Yeah. So I guess I'll ask you the question that we typically end the podcast with, which is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
Oh. Do you want me to answer as the song that's the soundtrack to my life?
Well, it is the soundtrack of your life, so I can't tell you what it is. It's a very open-ended question. I've had all sorts of answers.
Okay. I guess this might be a little generic, but don't try to hide your personality from new people to try to get them to like you, and go after hobbies that you like, not just because they're popular. Because liking 5 Seconds of Summer was not popular in high school, but it's one of my favorite things ever, being able to go to concerts and enjoy that. So just do what you love, even if other people don't love it, I guess.
Love that.
Yeah. It's okay to be a fangirl.
Yes, it really is. Fangirls run the universe.
Yes.
I guess fan people, you can be a fanboy. That exists.
Yeah. My brother goes to a lot of concerts with me, so.
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah. I had to drag him when I was a teenager, but I think he enjoys it now.
That's good. At least he finally is enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you too. I'm happy I found your channel and stuff.
Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoy what we have out there.
Yeah. I saw a lot of games we play stuff. I know that band.
Gosh. Yes, they are one of my favorite bands. I don't know if you've ever listened to their music or not. But...
Yeah, they're kind of like Fall Out Boy punk rock stuff from what I've heard.
Yeah, they actually opened for Fall Out Boy on one of his tours.
Okay, yeah, that's why I heard them from.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, have a nice rest of your day.
Yeah, and it's basically nighttime for you, so
yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.